Hello everyone, this is ZengoMD. Let's look at intermittent fasting, the latest trend in healthy eating. Oh, I hate that term, healthy eating. But let's do it from the eyes of the top-ranked Google page on the subject and the data that they quote to support the practice of intermittent fasting. What we're going to find is a little support clothed in some shoddy internet journalism, and I use that term loosely too, and of course hype. They commit the cardinal sin in taking a little bit of data, sometimes just on mice, and trying to apply that to the millions of people who most need to lose weight. First, some review concepts we discuss on our other weight management videos. Overweight people got that way due to food addictions and a menu of manufactured processed foods, not because they ate for too many hours in the day. Virtually all intermittent fasting articles do not address food addiction. Our emotional relationship to these foods can be reinforced in the few hours that we're allowed to eat. And if those addictive foods fill us up in those few hours, then we will give up the higher nutrition, higher fiber foods in favor of keeping our addictions alive. Remember, when choosing your menu, nobody ever got fat eating too much broccoli. And if you're overweight, remember one reason why you got that way is the way you respond to calorie restriction and your insulin's ability to reduce sugar. People who get overweight don't respond as well to these situations. So don't use a study done on normal weight people to tell you what to do. Here's that #1 article on Google when searching for intermittent fasting. Generally speaking, the top 3 to 5 Google hits on a subject are going to shape the majority of public opinion on that subject for the average internet researcher, and I use that term loosely. There's the link at the very top if you want to visit and read the whole thing. It's written by someone who does not have a medical degree, and that may or may not be bad. But let's dig in. First, it was pretty hard to get a screenshot before all the ads popped up, and it's difficult to scroll through this without clicking on an ad and making them some money. First, they claim it's for weight loss. In fact, the word weight appears 37 times on the page, yet no citations for that here at the beginning. As far as citing the powerful effects to help you live longer, #1 states no intervention produced meaningful glucose reaction, and a solid conclusion could not be made. #2 doesn't link to any research, and #3 cites an article that did not look at longevity in humans. It did show that worms and mice lived a few days longer, so definitely fast your pet worms and mice immediately. Moving on, the article discusses 3 potential ways to practice intermittent fasting, all of which are very different, yet it gives the reader the impression that all of them are equally effective at weight loss. And the third option does not involve a fast at all. Then it sneaks in a big admission that you still need to decrease your calorie intake in order to lose weight. I think we all knew that, right? It, we can assume here, still means intermittent fasting. And wow, the body adjusts its hormones so that we can access our stored fat better. I can't wait to hear more about this too. And then no clickbait article is complete without a HGH, human growth hormone, mention. Article 4 refers to the starvation response after a 5-day fast. A 5-day fast all week, at least all work week. Not the intermittent fasting types that are mentioned here. So the article doesn't even apply. Article 5 looks at a 2-day, 48-hour fast. Again, same thing. And neither proves any sustained GH response. What response that happens is short-lived, due, of course, to just the stress of the event. These articles don't prove anything, but how many people bother to actually read them? It gets worse. Article 6 pumped people full of injectable growth hormones along with drug dosing of steroid hormones. Article 7 looked only at people over 60 who got growth hormone injections. None of this applies here. This work would not get a passing grade at any level of postgraduate healthcare education. Oh, insulin levels drop when we don't eat. That's standard knowledge. No need to cite that. Total carbon calorie intake matters way more, though, for the insulin response than the timing of our eating. So again, it all boils down to, are you consuming less than before? That's your outcome. For #9, this was done in mice, and it ended with a very ominous statement. So maybe we're not so sure yet, and fasting of the duration used in the study might even be harmful. #10 is another study on one small aspect of mouse liver function that cannot yet be applied to humans. #11 relates to some general statements about mice regarding a cancer protective substance which may be more active in fasting. Still a long way to showing that fasting prevents cancer in humans, though. #12 postulates that both caloric restriction and intermittent fasting can help with brain aging. But the findings were not unique to intermittent fasting at all. Oh boy, and now we get to the weight loss part. The assumption that we eat less when we restrict feeding time is flat out wrong and is irresponsible because it ignores giving any advice on what you should be eating during that time. They repeat the obvious insulin line and the flawed GH line again. This study number 13 uses a 48-hour fast. Again, not the intermittent fasting protocols listed in this article. And looks at 11 subjects who are not even overweight. Yet it is well known that overweight people, the target of this webpage, do not have the same catecholamine response to feeding and fasting that normal weight people do. Number 14 looks at a similar normal weight group as well. Both of these prove nothing in our target population. And the findings here in Article 1 are caused by the calorie restriction in the intermittent fasting group, not the active intermittent fasting itself. All calorie reduction over this amount of time will cause weight loss of this magnitude. Has nothing to do with timing. When the top hit for a subject is garbage, then it spawns a lot more garbage as similar clickbait articles on the same subject, since other authors emulate the content of number 1 on Google in order to improve their rankings and get more ad clicks themselves. This increases the confirmation bias of what article number 1 is saying because it gets duplicated over and over again in other articles, but it doesn't prove anything. And it ends up shaping public opinion. Okay, well, I'm exhausted with this clickbait article. Enough. Please remember, if you read anything online and aim to apply it to your daily life, do your own research. Or just ask me. If I don't know the answer, I'll research it. The way I look at obesity and intermittent fasting is as follows. The pros for intermittent fasting largely surround the ability of the average food-addicted overweight person to follow it without giving up their food addictions. It takes less planning and intelligence to eat nothing over an hour than it is to go out of your way, resist your food addictions, and eat differently in that hour. It's simply a binary thing, eat or don't eat. Now, the effects on glucose and insulin are pretty well described, but that positive effect can be negated or made worse by the amount and the menu of foods that you eat when you are not fasting, so only partial credit there. And for many overweight people, they are already almost doing this. Overweight people as food addicts often learn to skip breakfast because they crave waffles, biscuits, processed meats, and cereal instead of fruit and eggs. Remember the concept of food addiction and the hedonic pathway override that can single-handedly explain the obesity epidemic worldwide. However, if you fast intermittently but still eat addictive crap when you do eat, the addictive pathway actually gets enhanced. We all know that doesn't end well. You need to completely eliminate a food for 1 to 2 months to shrink that pathway. Also, it's been known for over 20 years that obese people respond differently to fasting, refined carbohydrates, and binge eating than normal weight, never overweight subjects. It's a multifactorial genetic component to obesity risk. So an intermittent fast that might help a normal weight person lose 5 pounds is not guaranteed to help an obese person lose more than 5 pounds. Also, the brain cannot effectively utilize fats or ketone bodies unless one is in complete starvation for a week or longer, and nobody advocates that. I mean, you do need to go to work and think and have some energy for your brain while you're fasting, right? Therefore, it's going to need some carbs in order to perform optimally. Well, thanks for watching. Check out part 2 next, and don't forget to follow us at ZengoMD, all one word, on all of these platforms.